college students why they wanted to be an entrepreneur. They told me because they wanted to control their own destiny and they wanted to work in their pajamas. I told them, good luck with that second one. What they really didn't know is that you get to work in your pajamas because you are always working. Always. So for today, let's focus on the first one, to control your own destiny. When I asked Audrey why I was selected to be the keynote today, the response was clear. To discuss with you what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur. To speak to you with one goal in mind, to share with you the pathway to success. So I sat down and began to make myself a list of all the things that came to mind about being a successful entrepreneur. You must have passion for what you are doing. Everything takes much longer than you thought it would. So be patient. You must surround yourself with others who are good at the things that you are not. And the list went on and on. And I realized that it was the same list you've seen many times before. I looked at the list and I laughed, and then I cried. I laughed because I realized that all the advice for entrepreneurs is so cliche, all cleaned up and put in a nice little box. A box is so enticing and looks ideal for everyone. Slackers and overachievers alike. I cried because I realized that controlling my own destiny, what college students thought was the cornerstone to being an entrepreneur, let alone a successful entrepreneur, had taken me so long to get to. I was asked to speak to you today about being a successful entrepreneur, but I'm not going to do that. Rather, I'm going to talk to you today and share with you the story about how I got to a place to be asked to tell you about being a successful entrepreneur. And how, yet, at age 52, I am only just now controlling my own destiny. After having been an entrepreneur for 30 years. So let's call it a story of destiny. I was 25. I saw a gaping need while I was a nurse at United Regional Healthcare Systems. Not knowing that I wasn't supposed to, I commenced a research project that proved a new surgical approach led to superior patient outcomes. I led the clinical trial. I collected all the data. I wrote the journal article. I even created the frickin' poster for the conference circuit. Those of you who know me, creating the poster was no easy task. All was fine until I hit it big in the surgical community. Because you see, the surgeon, who was supposedly a great friend of mine, had submitted all the work as his own. He omitted my name from the application. He said to me, Susan, it wouldn't look good for me to have a nurse as the co-author. So what did I do? Well, given that I didn't feel worthy, I let it go. I didn't want to have conflict. So you see, there are reasons for everything as we evolve into who we are supposed to be. It took me a lot longer to stand on my own 2 feet. When I was 15, my father died suddenly. And my mother left soon thereafter. Never to look back. to realize that things were mine because nothing had been mine for so long. Fast forward to age 35. I was the president of an emerging technology company for which I was specifically recruited to lead. Yet, I agreed to work for nothing until the company achieved $1 million in revenue, at which time I would get 25% equity. I brought forth an idea to predict high school dropouts, to which my partners told me was not possible, and the market was not worthwhile. Now, mind you, a small change in the dropout rate in the United States would have billions of dollars of impact. That's okay. That product ended up being one of the biggest assets in our exit. To slap icing on the cake, my dear friend, so dear that I nearly named my son after him, tried to use me as a manipulative pawn to get $500,000 that was not rightfully his. He turned against me when I refused to be part of the scheme. I was told I wasn't good enough, my ideas weren't good enough, and I wasn't a good enough friend. But I stayed and fought to prove to them my worth and to get them to value me for my unique skills. In retrospect, I wonder, was it them I was trying to convince, or myself? I stayed and fought, but I stayed way past when a healthy person would have walked. Grade D+. Why did I stay and not trust myself? But I know the answer to that. You see, when my mother left, I became homeless. I lived with ex-cons for 5 years, who for whatever reason decided to protect me, while I watched them lie, cheat, and abuse others. Trust has been a very long journey for me, and something that I do not give easily, even today. Come with me to age 45. I was a partner in an investment group, managing $35 million. I had this little idea of how to change the delivery of health care in this country. I had this other partner, let's call him Dick. I came to the partnership with this idea, the business plan in hand. Sound familiar? Yeah. I shared the plan with other partners, including Dick, to which they said, idea is way too big. It's not possible, and the market doesn't want that. You see, Dick would scream, throw things, try to intimidate others. In fact, one day he said to me, I usually kill people who talk to me like that. When I told him, or when I rather questioned his ethics, or shall I say, lack thereof, I stood up, shaking, but prepared, and told him, I'm from the street too. I am not afraid of you. I was, but it's kind of a side point. I had to change the cycle. Dick came into my office one day and said, Susan, you have to drop everything and come to New York City for this big pitch. The deal cannot go forward without you. While I was on the plane, I realized that my little idea was in the appendix. The appendix do not blow this deal for me. I thought this was my deal. But somehow I was blowing it for him. You know the story. They were never going to invest in my idea. They were simply using me and my expertise and my vision for healthcare as a way to garner money for their ideas. I had to get out. Finally. Grade B-. Why didn't I leave sooner? Probably for the same reason that I took in my alcoholic mother when the emergency room called me from Kansas, with her screaming in the background, that I owed it to her to come and get her and take care of her. Mind you, I had not heard from my mother or seen her since the day she walked away when I was 15. I was 45 that day. And yet somehow I felt it was all my fault that she left. So I did it. And here we are today, Catalytic Heath Partners, my company. Did you hear that? It's my company.
Woo!
My little idea is population health management for health plans. Proactive care, not reactionary. I have walked away from more than $10 million in investment because it was not the right fit for me. I was scared to death, not nearly as scared as when I lived in the street. I was scared, but I still reached out and talked to others, even people who are not in healthcare, so that I could gain their insights and their perspectives on things, so I could be better. I'm now in the process of closing $5 million in funding, $5 million for my idea that wasn't worthwhile, the market wasn't interested in, it was too big. And just this week, I was told by a health plan that I will now be managing 39,000 members for them. I have chosen my partners well and set up legal structure so that we can have a clean break if indeed one more time my gut has let me down. I have retained 90% equity in the company. When our first prototype of the technology portion of our solution was completed, for the very first time, I realized that my dream could come true. And I've been an entrepreneur for 30 years. Grade A. I'll save that plus for the day when we hit 1 million covered lives. I've allowed my own destiny to have been controlled by many other people in my life. My mother, my business partners, my so-called friends. My only regret is having allowed that to happen. In my journey to control my own destiny, I did not understand that I actually had allowed myself to control nothing. And the irony of the situation is that my intelligence, my motivation, my desire, my drive, my creativity have not changed any in those 30 years. The only thing that has changed is my belief that I am worth it, that I am enough. I do not know how to advise you on this journey for yourself. All I know is that you need to do it. And now. The longer you allow other people to trample on your soul and to exploit your unresolved painful and difficult. I do not recommend it. So, given that the simple bullet point list of how to be a successful entrepreneur is what people want, I'll share with you a few things on my list. Mind you, it won't look much like that first list we talked about. First, you may doubt yourself. I have and frequently do. I woke up every morning for months, doubting I had what it took, and wondering if I would let everyone else down. Doubt yourself and keep going. Others may tell you that you are not worthy. What they're really telling you is they don't feel worthy. Do not listen. And finally, know your story and own it. You see, this is only the third time that I've publicly shared glimpses into my real story. It gets easier every time. Don't wait so long to tell yours, else it will eat you alive and keep you in bad relationships. So, controlling your own destiny. Check. It only took me 52 years to get to. My only wish for you is that it doesn't take you nearly half that long.
Woo!
Wow, Susan, that was amazing.
Thank you.
Susan is obviously an important leader in our ecosystem of women entrepreneurs. Today we are going to recognize many women